Hi guys! I know you guys miss Minju. She hasn't been in my videos recently, and in today's video, I'm going to be asking Minju how her experience was working in Japan. I noticed that from the past videos that many of you were interested in working in Japan, and Minju, when she was in Japan, she worked in Osaka, Japan for about a year as a graphic designer, so I wanted to ask Minju what she thought about it. I've also shared with you guys some of the pros and cons of working in Japan in the past, so for those videos, check the link above here or in the description below. Before getting started, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for future videos like this and travel tips and more. Before getting started, I wanted to just mention that this is her personal experience. Many of the parts that we'll be discussing does not apply to every company for everyone, so you need to be understanding of that. So your case might be different, especially depending on the industry that you're looking to work. So be mindful of that, and then take it for what it's worth, I guess. Without further ado, let's get started. So Minju, how did you find your job in Japan? What was the process like?
I registered on Rikunabi and MyNabi, where companies put up job postings.
Yeah, exactly. Those are I think two biggest companies in Japan where people apply for jobs, I think.
In most of the cases, I had to physically send a resume and portfolio via mail. They still keep things analog, and I think when foreigners try to shikatsu, which means job hunting in Japanese, they will struggle later with writing down all of their information on paper and taking the right size picture to put it on. If you make a mistake once, you need to scrap the entire resume and try again from the start, since many companies don't like you using whiteouts. So I bought a bunch of resume paper and film them out by handwriting.
Yeah, so in Japan they keep everything pretty analog. So yeah, I was watching Minju do it, but she was writing everything by hand on a piece of paper. They sell that at a convenience store or stationery store where you can purchase these resume formatted papers, and you write it down, your name and your personal information, your experience, what you're good at, and all these stuff. And and you even have to take a picture using this machine that you can find next to convenience stores and grocery stores to take a picture. It's 4x3. It's a passport size, but smaller than passport size pictures, and put it on the resume, and you send that in. For Minju's case, she was working for a graphic designer's position, so she had to also attach a portfolio of her past work. Along with that, yeah, it's really tough because you gotta keep writing. Once you're getting towards the end of the resume, you're about to be finished, and you make a tiny bit of mistake, and you're like, oh, how can I modify this word to make it seem like I didn't make a mistake? Otherwise, you will have to write out this 2-page resume from the scratch, from the start again, and put the picture again, all that stuff. It's a lot of trouble.
When the company likes my resume, they will typically respond you by a call for an interview.
So typically, how many interviews did you have to go through to get a job?
I interviewed with 6 companies, and the job I got, I only interviewed once, and I got the job.
Okay, because I know that in Japan, I've applied to Japanese companies, and some of them interview you for 3 rounds of interview to get the job. I guess for your case, it was, just once and you got the job. That's great.
If they don't hire you, they typically will send you back a letter that they decide to not hire you with the resume and portfolio you sent. I like this system because they give you back your documents and also show their attention to details and care for your work. Because I had to write my resume by hand, my kanji and handwriting got a lot better during this time.
I know it varies by each company, but in your opinion, how well do you need to be able to speak Japanese in order for you to get a job in Japan?
I believe it depends on which industry you work, but in Japan, people think teamwork is important, and they teach you step by step from the start, and there are so many rules the employees need to follow, so you need to know at least intermediate level writing and reading in Japanese. Good conversation skills are also necessary. Of course, you could look for a job looking for a foreigner, but that will definitely limit your ability to pick the type of job you find. If you're worried about your language skills, I would say don't worry, because once you start working, you will learn so much.
Yeah, I noticed after you started working, your Japanese got so much better. You started thinking Japanese and speaking Japanese much smoother, and she started picking up these like vocabs that a lot of people who work in her industry uses, and I'm like, huh? What is that? You know?
And I also learned the Kansai Ben. I like it.
Which is used in Osaka and nearby regions. So Minju, what was your typical day working in Japan like?
I would wake up at around 7 to get ready and leave the house at 8. And once I arrived at the station where the work is, I'd usually buy a coffee and onigiri or bread from the convenience store. By the way, the coffee machine in convenience store, especially the 7-Eleven, is really good for the price of 100 yen or a dollar.
Yeah, we used to always get the dollar coffee, black coffee from 7-Eleven. Only 7-Eleven though. They're so good, so yummy.
I would work at desk doing graphic designs. Then I usually work till 12. From 12 to 1 was my lunch time. And usually I am at my desk. Like many others, either a bento that I bought nearby convenience store or market, or a bento that I made home. Some people ate in the kitchen, and some people went out to eat for lunch. But on my first day, I ate with everyone who was in the team, and on Christmas, we ordered a pizza and ate together. 6 p.m. was when the work is officially ended. Usually I had to work on non-paid overtime until at least 7:30 p.m. Then I would get back home 8 or 9, depending on the overtime.
Yeah, I remember back then when she worked there, she was working some crazy hours. She did not have any time to take care of herself, and I was a little worried, but it seemed like everyone at her company was doing the same. Her company is not even like a black company, which is like a common term used in Japan, where like the employee retention rate is like really low because the company employer like treats their employees poorly and force them to work overtime without getting paid, and it wasn't like that. Her company was relatively pretty good. It's like one of the leaders in the niche industry that they were in, and the boss seemed really cool, and honestly it was like more open-minded, less strict companies, I would say, based on what I hear from Minju, than many others like typical companies in Japan. It was a smaller size company, but a good company, I would say. So Minju, your overtime you said was not paid, but what was your compensation like in Japan, and did you get any like unique benefits?
Yeah, I got paid around $2,300, but after tax, I only got $1,740 per month.
At that time, I remember talking to Minju and then saying that, you know, based on the hours that you actually work at a company, you probably get paid less than like a typical part-time job, getting paid at minimum wage because of the unpaid overtime. She was putting in hours after hours and they were not paying her. I was like, oh my god.
There were a few unique benefits, like if you live close to the company pays few $100s towards your rent. Or if you had to catch the train to commute, the cost of commute was covered.
And how they do that is they typically give you Teikiken, which is like a monthly unlimited pass for the trains, and then you just use that for the month. And you can even use that during the weekend, but the only limitation was that you only can take the same exact train to go places. So there are some limitations, but I thought it was pretty cool that you can use it during the weekend.
I also heard from other people that companies go as far as you giving money for you to buy clothes.
Okay, Minju, so what did you find difficult working in Japan?
I found working with Japanese people difficult because of the cultural differences. I didn't like my company's thought unpaid overtime is normal. My boss told me that although overtime is unpaid, you need to appreciate that you're giving a chance to build your skills.
When I heard that, I was a little bit surprised because I know that her boss, based on what she told me, was pretty nice and open-minded. But like the boss thought that like not paying someone for their overtime was okay, which is I think illegal in Japan. But you know, it's not all companies, but I know many of them don't pay for overtime work, and the overtime work is something very important, right? So Minju, were you like required to work overtime at that time?
Yeah, especially during the busy seasons. But I don't think think all of the companies in Japan are like this. During the busy seasons, which was basically 5 months of a year, I worked till 11 p.m. including Saturdays. Overtime was something I saw many people did. Some people said they can go home even without anything to do. They're worried about what their boss or other people around would think about them. So they said they would just sit on their own desk and pretend they were working.
Yeah, I do hear that that's like a common problem in Japan. I think like Japanese government is trying to take actions to prevent people from doing that, you know, for the health of the people, the employees, and for the country.
But I think this problem is same in Korea too. I heard that from my friends.
Based on what I know Korea shares a lot of similarities with Japan. But when did you feel a cultural difference?
I noticed that Japanese companies hire their employees with the understanding of keeping them forever, so they don't fire their employees that easily. So once you are employed, you feel the sense of comfort and stability.
Also, Minju, there are a few episodes that you shared with me that I thought was pretty interesting. Can you share some of them with them?
Yeah, of course. There are 2 episodes I want to share. First of all, Japanese people are very detail-oriented. When I was making a catalog, my senpai, which is someone who is in a higher position than I, pointed out that the product picture is a little bit off to the side, and even after I tried to make a correction, I was told the image is a millimeter off. I really couldn't figure out after multiple tries. On that day, when I came back home, I showed the catalog and asked Isaku about it, and he also noticed that it was off. So at the time, I realized he's very typical Japanese. It was really little off, like 0.1 millimeters, like that.
Yeah, I must admit I'm pretty Japanese in a way that I'm pretty picky and very detail oriented. And when she brought the catalog and sent it to me, I was like, oh yeah, that's way off. It was only like this one.
I think usually people doesn't know that.
I know people. I think I'm sure I'm pretty crazy about that kind of stuff, and people don't realize it. And she was so surprised because like she thought that I would agree with her that it's not a big deal, but I actually supported the other side. I'm like, yeah, Minju, you need to do that right.
Yeah, I was wrong.
So Minju, what's the second episode?
The second episode is I used to live in center of Osaka, where I took a train to commute to the company. Usually I went on woman-only train cars, but one day I missed the train usually I take, so I had to get on the normal mixed gender car. When the train stopped the next station, people pushed me really hard. I fell and sat on the older man's lap, and he was like, I was so embarrassed and felt bad for him.
I'm not sure if you guys have ever seen the footage of people getting pushed and people who work at the train station. They push these like salarymen, businessmen into the train. Like trains get really, really packed. This gets crazy. So all in all, would you recommend a foreigner to work in Japan, Minju?
Yes, if you like Japan, it's good experience to work in Japan, and you can learn about Japanese culture much quicker than you just live in there without working. I also learned to pay more attention to details from working there.
While she was in Japan for roughly like 3 years, she only worked for like a year. But during that 1 year, she learned so much about Japan, much more than the 2 other years that she lived there.
True.
I'm sure each person has a different story to tell, different experiences based on where they work, where they live, and all that. So please do your own research. I hope you guys enjoyed Minju sharing the story. And if you have any questions, please write them below. And don't forget to hit the like button. And thank you very much for watching. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So Minju, how did you find it?